Saw the city passing by my window.
Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Travel Time with Ty. Today's video, I'm going to be giving a sort of in-depth review of my time on the Carnival Horizon. I was on the Carnival Horizon this past October into November for their Halloween cruise, so I know that this video is a little bit delayed. I wanted to just make sure I put together everything and give a good review, but I want to just give a quick review. Some of the topics that I'm going to go over today are the embarkation process, cabin review, the dining options, entertainment and activities, the ports and shore excursions, the ports and shore excursions, and my final overall thoughts. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I'm going to try not to hold y'all too long. Okay, to start, I want to talk about the embarkation process on the Carnival Horizon. So just like other Carnival cruises, before you arrive, a couple weeks or a few weeks before your trip, you'll get the chance to check in. During that online check-in process, you will choose your arrival time. So I believe check-in most of the time starts around 10 o'clock. So you'll get a half an hour to an hour frame. So like 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1, 1 to 2. And you pretty much make sure that you arrive at the port during that, arrival period. My mother, I went with my mom and my cousin and her husband. Our embarkation time, my mom and I's, was between, I believe, 11 and 12. And my cousin's was 12 to 1. So pretty much it aligned with that. So we were pretty much on the boat around the same time. So the embarkation process actually was fairly smooth. You arrive to the port, you give your bags to the baggage handlers. Always make sure you tip them a bit because they're processing so many bags and it's hot in Florida. So I always like to make sure I give a tip. And we just gave our bags. We made sure that we had our luggage tags printed out. And that's another tip. With the luggage tags, you're going to print them out before you board, along with your boarding pass. And that pretty much has your room number, your name, and all of that information so that they can bring your bags on board. And make sure that you do have some sort of laminated cover. Some people use tape and make their own laminated thing, but I do not recommend putting your luggage tag just with paper. Let's turn that down. Just with paper, because what happens is they're throwing all those bags, and if your luggage tag gets ripped off, they won't know where to return your bag to, and then it's a whole lengthy process of guest services and everything to find and recover your bags. So, but once we did that, we went right in. Since we did the online check-in process, it was pretty smooth. We just went into a line. If you actually already funded your sign and sell card, and that's another thing, you can fund your sign and sell card, which is your card that you're going to use to purchase everything on board. All Carnival cruises are a cashless system. That means at your bars, your restaurants, etc., you're going to be using your sign and sell card. That's also how you get into your room. So you have to fund that. You can either fund it with your debit or credit card, which I think is more convenient, but you do have to be mindful that at the beginning of your trip, they're going to take a hold of a couple to a few $100s. And that's a very, very important thing to remember, because a lot of people do that and they don't read that portion about the hold, and come cruise day, $200, $300+ of their money is being held up, and it can cause a hardship depending on your finances. So what my mom and I decided to do was just to fund our sell and sign account with cash. So since we funded ours with cash, after we checked in, after we got through security, we went into a line. It wasn't long at all. It was a pretty quick process. We just gave our ID, folio number, all of that stuff, and we just gave them the cash that we wanted to, and it appeared right on our sign and sell account to use. We didn't really need a lot of money because we purchased the drink package. So we only started, I believe I started with just $50 on my sign and sell card, and that was pretty much enough. I put a little bit more because we decided to go to the steakhouse, so I'll get back to that later. But the process was smooth. They had the drug dogs come and traffic sniffing you because they're really getting strict with the marijuana, drugs, all of that. So don't bring it. Trust me, do not bring it, because the dogs will be there sniffing, and you don't want to ruin your vacation because of something like that. And like I said, it was pretty smooth. We got on the boat. I would say from the time we dropped our bags off to the time we stepped in onto the ship, it really had to be no more than 15 minutes. It was a really quick process for us. And once we got on, your rooms aren't ready until 1 o'clock unless you have Faster to the Fun. I believe Faster to the Fun, your room will be ready, if not immediately, soon after you get on. But we pretty much just went up to the Lido deck, grabbed some food, met up with my cousins, and started using our drink package. So overall, embarkation process, smooth. A cabin review. So the cabin, we had the Ocean View, I believe Ocean View Deluxe, because we had the Ocean View room that had the extra little half bath that had like a shower and a sink in there, along with our full bathroom. So that's really good if you're sharing the cabin with more than 2 people, or even 2 people and you have to get ready at the same time. There were both of those shower options. Our exact room number, because I know in the cruise community, when I show the video, a lot of people like to know exactly which cabin you stayed in. Our room number, to be exact, was 2267. We were in cabin 2267, Ocean View. And in my opinion, the room was pretty good. It was fairly clean. It was fairly standard. My last time cruising on Carnival was on the Carnival Sensation, which was built in the 90s, I believe, and is no longer even in commission. So for me, the Carnival Horizons rooms were definitely a big step up from the Sensation. So I was pretty happy with them. They weren't anything fancy, but like I said, spacious enough, clean. And to be honest, when you're on a cruise, me personally, I'm barely in the room anyway, so I don't really need anything too fancy. The only thing that I think I will do in the future is upgrade to that balcony cabin. My cousin and her husband had a balcony cabin, and I do think that made a huge difference. It does seem like a pretty cool feature to be able to, in the morning as you're pulling up to the port, to sit on your balcony with a cup of coffee and watch that beautiful island come into view. So, and we also during the evening sometimes went to sit on their balcony and had a drink and just talked and took in that ocean breeze. So I would recommend, if you have it in your funds, to probably upgrade to that balcony cabin. I do think it's worth it. Dining options. So there were plenty of dining options on board. Of course, you have your main dining room. Your main dining room, of course, is included in your fare. You will have to, during your check-in process, your online check-in process, a few weeks before you board, you're going to have to pick your dining time. Now, I will say be ready and prompt on the check-in, because what I'm going to say is I recommend anytime dining. So, you can pick your dining hours. So like you could pick the 5 o'clock slot, the 6, blah, 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 all the way up until the dining room closes. However, with anytime dining, that allows you to pretty much check in for dining whenever you're ready, and they'll let you know when your seat is available. So that's with my mom and I, my cousin and her husband, sprung for. And I think that was super amazing, because we didn't have to rush around. So say if there was a show or something going on around the dinner hour, we knew that we could catch it, or we could do whatever activity we want, and it wouldn't interrupt our dining time, because we can choose when we want to dine. But like I said, anytime dining fills up fast. They don't let everyone do anytime dining. It's first come, first serve. So if you want anytime dining, set a reminder on your phone, an alarm, or whatever for when check-in day comes up. First thing in the morning, 12 o'clock midnight, be ready to be up there and select your anytime dining, because that will fill up fairly fast. But my review of the dining room. The dining room was actually pretty nice. They had the steak and lobster on Elegant Night. I love that. All the food options were pretty solid to me. I think on the Carnival Horizon, my favorite food, you have to try it, the Indian vegetarian option. Oh my gosh, so I can't even say too many souls. Like, It was good. It was very good. I'm like, if I can have vegetarian food like that all the time, I would probably become a vegetarian. So I do recommend trying that if it is offered in your selling, which it should be. All of the wait staff was extremely nice, extremely friendly. I don't think we had any bad experience with the wait staff in the main dining room. The only issues we had in the main dining room a couple times was our seat placement. We were placed at one point, I think it was during Elegant Night maybe, we were placed all the way in the back of the dining room on a particularly rocky night. So on a rocky night at the back of the dining room, which is already in the back of the ship, the rocking was insane. My mom couldn't even finish her food because she was starting, and she's not even prone to seasickness, and she was getting a bit seasick. So I will recommend, if you're going into the dining room, just request like, hey, would it be possible we can get a table midship, or not midship, but mid dining room, or towards the beginning of the dining room? That will be better as far as the rocking. But other than that, if you have, whether you have the drink package or not, you can order drinks and cocktails to your table at the dining room. The waiter will ask for ask for your drink order. All of our drinks were still pretty good there, except the one drink that I probably would skip was the espresso martini. If any of you are an espresso martini person, the espresso martini there was not the best at all in the main dining room. It literally just seemed like espresso, alcohol, and a espresso bean, which pretty much, I know you're all saying, but isn't that the ingredients? But there was no razzle dazzle, there was no foam, there was no Baileys, there was nothing in it. So I would skip that. If you're looking for a good espresso martini over at the Ocean Plaza bar, those espresso martinis, all the bartenders there really hooked it up there. So as far as continuing with dining options, you do have the buffets that's on the Lido deck. The buffet options were pretty good. You also have Guy's Burgers up there and the Blue Iguana. That was pretty good as well. And a cool thing to know is that on the Carnival Horizon, I heard some ships took it away, but it's still there on the Carnival Horizon. They do have that late night snack option, which I do believe it starts around like 11 p.m. So if you're out late, sometimes you might be at the club, a comedy show, this and that, and you get a little bit hungry. They do have late night snacks, and I believe it was every night I went, it was chicken tenders, hot dogs, pizza, fries, like that type of like greasy, probably like you've been drinking type food essentially. So that was a good option because you can get a little hungry, like when you're staying up real late, sometimes you do want a little snack. Specialty restaurants. I'm only going to really focus on the specialty restaurants and eating that we did. The steakhouse was $50 per person, and I definitely do think it was worth it. It was a really nice experience to me. They had the magician come pass on the table, and I still don't know how he did some of those tricks. But yeah, I got the surf and turf from there. The steak was really flavorful, and I got, I'm forgetting what sauce I got. I got a specific sauce, but I would recommend, so they're going to give you different sauce options for your steak. I do recommend asking them to, like, if you don't know which one you want, ask to try like one or two or maybe even all of them on the side, because I do think the steaks taste better with the sauce. Like, my mom didn't have the sauce and she felt the steak wasn't as flavorful, so I do think most of the flavor is packed in one of the sauces. So definitely try that. The drinks there were good. It was a nice atmosphere. So I mean, me personally, I don't think the steakhouse is something I would do every time, but if you haven't done it before, I definitely think it's worth at least doing once in your cruising experience. The next restaurant we tried out, or specialty dining, was Bonsai Teppanyaki. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the second half. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You'll see it on the thing. It's a Asian / sushi place, and the prices weren't bad at all. Like, some of the sushi rolls were about $9, $12. Like, it wasn't expensive at all, and it was really good. I got what did I get? I got a ramen bowl, I believe, with chicken and something else, and I got the edamame. It was really good. My cousin got the tuna roll and the shrimp tempura rolls. The shrimp tempura rolls were so good. I wasn't feeling quite adventurous that night to try the tuna roll, even though I'm not like against the raw fish thing, but we had been drinking, we took shots. I was kind of scared to try something new on my stomach after that, but that was pretty good as well. Another restaurant that we tried out was Guy's Pig and Anchor. So many of you are familiar with Guy's Burgers on the cruises, Carnival Horizon, and some of the other ships also have Guy's Pig and Anchor, which is a Guy's barbecue spot. The food was really good there. We sat at the bar in there. They have a bar and they serve a lot of like whiskey drinks. You can get pretty much anything there, but their specialty are like those whiskey style drinks. It's a really cool atmosphere. It feels like you're kind of in like this southern barbecue pub type place, and it was really good. And every day from, I think it starts at 11 a.m. to like 1-ish, they have the barbecue buffet, and that's free of cost for you to go grab food there. So I would definitely recommend trying that out. Next, I'm going to move on to entertainment and activities. So the entertainment and activities, your daytime activities, such as like you have, of course, you have the pools, the water slides. They have like the sports, like the basketball area and all of that on the upper decks of the Lido. But during the day, there were so many trivia games during the day, and my family and I, we definitely checked that out a few times near the Ocean Plaza area. Ocean Plaza turned out to be one of our favorite areas. They have a bar there, some nice windows. It's indoors, and that's where all of like the games and activities. So most of the day, if we weren't doing anything, we were over there by the bar, just either participating in the trivia or listening to the trivia and playing along. And it was pretty fun. So that doesn't seem like it would be part of like a highlight, but that was actually a pretty good highlight of our trip. It was a nice fun area and just talk and play some of those games. It was pretty cool. Next, the bar. So there were several bars around the boat. They have like the sports bar, the alchemy bar. Love the alchemy bar. The alchemy bar is where you can get like some really craft cocktails. It was very popular, so it stayed packed most of the time. So that's the only reason why my family didn't really like spend a lot of time there, is because of how crowded it was. But they have some pretty good drinks there. You have the main lobby bar, which is kind of in that like atrium where the big funnel thing is. And that stayed pretty packed because they would do some of those evening shows with Robbie, our cruise director. That's where, you know, he'll come together and have everybody standing around singing Motown or doing, you know, the electric slide and all sorts of that type of thing. They also had a sports bar. I really enjoyed the sports bar. The only thing is I wish it was bigger, because of course during those game days it got packed and it was literally nowhere to sit, barely anywhere to stand. So I would love if somehow that could be a bigger space, because I do think that was a cool space to sit in if you could actually sit and enjoy it. But like I said, I mentioned this already previously, our favorite bar to kind of sit at was the Ocean Plaza bar. Shout out to Paula. She was an amazing bartender there. And yeah, her drinks were always pretty good there. Yeah, and I feel like, and like I said, that's where all the other entertainment and everything was. So we enjoyed that bar. And we also did sit in the Pig and Anchor bar, which is the Guy's Burgers Pig and Anchor. That bar was a pretty cool vibe. Like I said, it feels kind of like you're like a southern pub type thing. What else? Okay, so now let's move on. Oh, they also have an IMAX theater there that my mom and I tried out, and that's a pretty cool thing. And they were actually showing like movies that were currently like in the theater. At that time they had the new Venom playing, and I think the tickets were somewhere between maybe like $8 to $11, somewhere in that range. So they weren't horrible, they weren't like crazy expensive. So if you're in the movie mood during the trip, you can check that out. Next I want to kind of move on to the port and shore excursions that we did. The ports that we visited were Aruba, Carousel, La Romana, and Amber Cove. La Romana and Amber Cove are both stops in the Dominican Republic. On each of these islands, we actually opted this time to do private tours. That was the first time that my mom and I have ever done that. My cousin and her husband do that pretty frequently. And I think I'm kind of glad they pushed us to do that because we were able to find some nice cheap prices. Pretty much each time the tours were like pretty much someone in a taxi cab. We were with a group of other random cruisers, and it was about $40. They take you there and back, and they took us to a bunch of stops and restaurants in each of the islands. And the first one actually was in Aruba. We did a open air bus tour, so that was actually kind of a tour company, but we just booked them while we were on the island. That was pretty fun, except that it was burning hot. So after we did that, we were like, no more open bus. We need an air conditioned vehicle. So that's something to keep in mind. Like, they do have the big open bus tours, but I wouldn't, I mean, unless you don't get hot easily, I wouldn't recommend the open bus tours on those islands because, you know, you're getting off the bus to do things and it's extremely hot, but then you're not getting any relief because you're getting back on the bus and it's still hot. So I wouldn't fully recommend that. But the other ones that we did were like private, like van taxis with other people, and it was pretty cool. My favorite day was Amber Cove. My mom actually didn't get off the boat. She was still feeling kind of seasick. We had like a rough sea night the night before, and she just wanted to chill on the boat. So me, my cousin, and her husband got off the boat on Amber Cove, and I was kind of like upset that my mom didn't get off because that day was like the best day because we actually were able to snag our own private like taxi van with our own private driver, and we each only paid about $30, I think, per person. And he took us around pretty much the whole day and took us to several stops, and we got to see all like the umbrellas. He took us to a cigar shop, took us to this really good food place there. And it was like really cool because it was some of the touristy stops, but also some things off the beaten path. So you kind of felt like you were really getting immersed. We went to like the countryside area, and that was, I think, my favorite day because it was private. So that's one thing I will note. If you're with a big enough group, you could probably always snag those private taxis because, you know, their goal most of the time is to fill up those taxis. So if you don't have enough in your group to fill up those taxis with those private tours, they are going to bring in random people. So, and none of the people that we were riding with and Carousel or La Romana, they were all really good. We actually got a good group of people each time, but the only downside is that now we have to kind of navigate what everyone else wants to do with people outside of our group. So it's always a little bit, you know, better if you can snag one of those with just a group of people you know. But other than that, one thing I will also say is that you do just have to be mindful that if you're not on a Carnival sanctioned tour, if something happens and the tour gets back late, Carnival will leave you. So that's the only thing to balance. So if you're out, if your tour guide asks you what time you need to be back, I would recommend telling them like an hour to 2 hours before the time you're actually leaving the boat, just to play it safe. But like I said, there's always just no guarantee. So if you want that guarantee, like no matter what, I'm never going to get left if I go on the tour, and that kind of like freaks you out, that idea, then I would stick with the Carnival sanctioned tours. Okay, and last but not least, I want to talk about disembarkation. Disembarkation, okay, I heard a lot of complaints about disembarkation from the cruise group, Facebook group that we were on. A lot of people seem to have issues. It definitely seemed overcrowded out there, primarily because, and this is one thing I would like, if I'm doing a suggestion box to Carnival, it gets a little hectic when you're doing disembarkation, but also have the people embarking that day kind of arriving at the port at the same time. It gets a bit hectic because they use that same area for embarkation and disembarkation too, like when you pull up into the port. So that got a bit hectic, but honestly, my mom and I, and even my cousins, like, we all got off pretty smoothly. Like our disembarkation, we waited for our time and we walked right out. I think the key was that we all elected to bring our own luggage down. I think my cousin and her husband wanted them to take their luggage down, but I think they only allow a certain amount, and then like the registration or sign up for that was closed down for some reason. But I think most of the people who had frustrations were the ones who elected to sit their bag out, because on Carnival, the night before you disembark, you can sit your bag out, sign up for the checked bag service, and it's free of cost, and they will come the night before and get your bags, and then you have to wait for your bags so you won't have to lug your bags off the ship. In that process, some people said they would wait, and even after they got off the ship, like an hour, 2 hours, and some people bags never came to the point where they had to go to guest services and they found their bags. So I don't think Carnival has that process down packed the best. So if you want to get off on a smoother process, I will recommend just carrying your bag down. I know it's less convenient, but it seems like most people who ran into trouble with that process. But other than that, I think it was good. My overall opinions of the Carnival Horizon, that the staff were very friendly, very attentive. Robbie, our cruise director, was great. He kept the vibes awesome. Everything on the ship was pretty clean. The cleanliness was pretty good. I'm sorry, my camera jumped out for some reason. I think I was talking about notable attractions. So they did have the IMAX, they had the water slides. So overall, I'm a big fan of the Carnival Horizon. I definitely would get on it again. I think it's like a mid-sized ship, so I think it wasn't too small where you feel like, oh, okay, I exhausted everything I could do on this ship. But it wasn't too big where it's like, okay, if I want to go to X, Y, or Z place, I'm about to walk for 10 minutes. You know, I think it was the perfect size ship. It was pretty, like I said, the staff was amazing, clean, a nice amount of things to do. So I give it a thumbs up. I would get on it again. Would love to check out some of those, ships that are a little bit, above the horizon as far as size and things, just to do that comparison. But I think if you're looking for a ship where you're going to have a good time, nice staff, and is not too crazy to navigate, I think Carnival Horizon is for you. Well, that concludes my video for today. My next video is going to be a cost breakdown. I know sometimes people, they don't get on YouTube and tell you exactly how much they paid for a cruise, but in my next video, I'm going to actually be doing a full breakdown of exactly what I paid, like looking at my bill and everything to give a cost breakdown, because some people, if you're new to cruising, you may look at the base fare and think, okay, that's the only money I have to put aside. But with Carnival, you have things like gratuities, Wi-Fi, should you get the drink package, all of that to really know the full cost. So I want to give my subscribers and viewers a real breakdown of, okay, what is it actually going to cost to go on this vacation? And I'm even going to try to include my airfare, hotel stay, and all of that. So if you want, if you like this video, subscribe, put a thumbs up. And if you're interested in that video, make sure that you hit the bell and subscribe so you can get notified when that goes.